Today we are reacting to his stories. And guys, please subscribe to this guy because this guy yeah, I'm just going to sub to him because his videos are good. And anyways, he makes some videos, not often, but he mostly makes shorts. And right now he's live. And anyways, he makes lots of videos, like a lot, like the oldest to the popular and to this. Yeah, so you're gonna watch this from the beginning. And look at these views, bro. Like, he's the goat. Okay, let's watch him very quickly. Let's watch this.
Logan slammed $1,000 on our dorm table. Tomorrow, we're all going to the airport with no money, and the one who can get to the furthest country wins. It's a college competition. I immediately signed the sign-up sheet because my mom had never left the state before, and this was my chance to make her dream of going to
For all of this, bruh.
Disneyland come true. I clicked the pen and grinned. May the best man win. The next morning, all 5 of us walked into LAX with empty wallets, and Logan lifted up 3 fingers. We start in 3, 2, 1. I sprinted for the airline counters with money on my mind. Please, I need a free flight to win a competition for my mom. You got me, right? The agent laughed at me. Right, and I'm looking for free Jordans because I don't want to pay for new shoes. You got me, right? He was making fun of me, so I frantically searched the airport because I knew I needed a new strategy. A woman 2 seats down propped her giant suitcase against the charging station and answered her phone. Yeah, Mom, I land in Dublin tonight. Love you. My entire face lit up because I knew Dublin was a city in Ireland, and it was 5,000 miles away. She headed for the bathroom without her suitcase, so I dumped her clothes into my backpack, folded myself inside, and pulled the zipper shut with my teeth. 10 minutes later, I was swinging through the terminal, slamming into every doorframe in California while I was curled up like a pretzel until someone grunted and rammed me into an overhead bin with my knees in my eye sockets. By the time I climbed in, the group chat was already flexing. Logan posted a selfie from a party bus to Mexico, and I grinned because I thought I was going to beat him. The engines roared, the bin rattled, and I fell asleep picturing my mom standing outside the Disney castle holding a giant cotton candy. A loud thud woke me up, and I was certain 16 hours had passed, and I was on a whole new continent. The second the bin clicked open, I exploded out with both fists in the air and screamed, I won. A flight attendant dropped her clipboard, and the suitcase woman screamed louder than I did. Then the pilot's voice came through the speakers. Welcome to Dublin, one of the most beautiful cities in California, folks. Flight time today was 45 minutes. My face fell because I thought we were going to Europe, but we hadn't even left the state. When security grabbed me to walk me out, I made a request. If you guys arrest me, can you at least put me in a jail in Argentina so I can win my competition? Logan slammed $1,000 on our dorm table.
That's crazy. But anyways, let's watch the next short.
My Uncle Tom's face scrunched up when I asked for a water break 2 hours into photographing my cousin's 7th birthday party, dizzy and dehydrated under the sun. I'm not paying you $20 to drink water. The party's only 4 hours. He grabbed my cake plate out of my hand later that afternoon. You can eat after the job's done. I stood there swaying slightly while he checked his watch, and my hands were still shaking from hunger by the time he pulled up his phone at the end of the party to show me a fitness influencer. I need these photos edited. Make my wife look like this. I nodded, thinking I could survive 1 more week of him before I never had to work for family again. I sent him 20 cleaned up photos that week. That's no good, he texted back within the hour. Make my wife skinnier, give her more curves, wider hips, smaller waist, make my arms more muscular, and remove my brother's Rolex from the picture. Make sure I'm the best looking guy in every shot. I stared at my phone, stunned. This will take weeks, I typed back. Then work faster. I need these by tomorrow. I really needed the money for college, so I spent all night hunched over my laptop, frantically editing the photos. Then one more text lit up my screen. Oh yeah, make me the tallest person in every group shot. Something in me finally snapped clean in half. I called an emergency family meeting the next day and connected my laptop to the TV. I'm done with Uncle Tom's BS, and before anyone judges me, let me show you why. I pulled up his texts and the before and after photos, which included edits of him stretched taller than his own brother, his arms bulked up, and his wife's body reshaped into something she'd never recognize. My aunt stood up slowly, staring at the screen with her hand over her mouth. That looks nothing like me. Were you lying when you said I was perfect just the way I was? Uncle Tom shot to his feet and pointed at me. You had no right to show those messages, I laughed, and you had no right to treat me like garbage for 20 measly dollars. That same night, my aunt grabbed his phone off the counter and found him setting up dating profiles using the edited photos he'd demanded. Every screenshot became evidence in her divorce filing 3 weeks later. My Uncle Tom's face scrunched up.
Nah, I'm gonna say that's crazy. No, I'm gonna say that's crazy because that is totally crazy. Nah. Anyways, let's move to the next shot. And If his story is watching my video, please like it. Okay, anyways.
I was doing laundry late at night when I opened the dryer and found a huge duffel bag stuffed inside. My balls dropped, and I was too scared to touch it, so I tried another machine, but everyone had
Wait,
an
what?
out-of-order sign.
I found a dog. My English. I found a dog in the dryer. Interesting.
I bent to move the bag. It was so heavy my arms shook, and the second I dropped it, it fell open. My heart shattered. A big pit bull was crammed inside, covered in bruises and deep scars. I've had dogs my whole life, so I knew these weren't an accident. Anger filled my body as I swore to find out who did this. I took the pit bull home, cleaned his wounds, and fed him until he stopped shaking. By morning, he was curled against me, the sweetest boy, and it only made me angrier. The next night, I brought him along and parked across from the laundromat, waiting to see if they'd come back. And around midnight, a truck pulled up, and a man hauled a squirming duffel bag inside, another dog. The second he drove off, I ran in, pulled the trembling dog from the dryer, set him in my car, and sped after the truck. It led me down a dirt road to a rundown farmhouse, and what I saw made my stomach drop. I peeked in and saw dozens of dogs, chained and caged, scarred just like mine, around a ring. My hands shook as I started recording and called the police, whispering the address, but a floorboard creaked behind me. "You lost, bruh?" He was smiling, and he'd caught the whole thing. "Snitches don't leave here," he whistled, and every dog in that yard charged straight at me. I braced myself as the pack charged, certain it was over. But out of nowhere, my two dogs shot in front of me and stood their ground, growling at the others. The attacking dogs skidded to a halt, thrown off. Then I heard it, whimpering behind me, cage after cage of trapped dogs. I spun around and ripped the doors open one by one. "What are you doing?" the man screamed, kicking his boot into a dog to scare the rest. "Attack him, stupid!" But that was the worst thing he could have done. Every dog froze, then slowly turned on him, their teeth bared, the same rage in their eyes he'd beaten into them. They lunged, but I couldn't let them become the monster he'd made them. "Hey," I said softly, "we don't do that anymore. It's okay." Then the cops flooded in, slamming him to the ground. The dogs wagged their tails, no longer weapons, just dogs. I was doing laundry.
That's actually a sweet story, bruh. That's so sweet. That's actually so sweet.
I was
Okay.
closing our McDonald's when a guy built like a delivery truck started pounding on the glass.
Oh?
I cracked the door to say, "We're
Rude.
closed, but
Very rude for that.
come back tomorrow." But he walked straight through me into the lobby and yelled his order at the empty store. "Get me 10 burgers, 7 fries, and 5 Coke Zero." I tried pushing him back out. "Buddy, the grill is turned off. Come back tomorrow." But he pushed me back, and I went flying over the counter. Then he grabbed the counter with both hands, and something metal on his wrist clacked against it. "You don't understand. I will die without my burgers." My limbs trembled, and I backed toward the kitchen. But he followed me and yelled his order again. 10 burgers, 7 fries, 5 Coke Zero. But then my manager stepped out from behind the grill. He was part-time Mr. Olympia and a full head bigger than the guy. He walked up until they were chest to chest and glared at the customer. "We're closed. Get out or I'll throw you out." But the guy didn't move. "My burgers. Give me my burgers or I'll die." My manager backed him all the way into the glass, and he was still begging for the food. And that's when I noticed he was sweating through his shirt in a cold lobby. His hands shook so hard the metal band on his wrist rattled against the glass. So I thought to myself, nobody begs for food like this unless something's truly wrong. That's when the big guy took 3 huge breaths and just dropped. He slammed onto the floor and cracked our tiles, and our manager gasped. I ran over and knelt down to check on him, and I finally noticed what was on his wrist. It was a medical bracelet with the words, "Need daily burgers. Feed me if I pass out." I couldn't believe his words about dying if he didn't get his burgers were actual.
What? That's not fair! Wow.
True. So I grabbed a half-eaten burger from a nearby table and shoved it down his mouth. Then I opened my phone and dialed 911 while my manager fired up the grill behind me and started making those 10 burgers, 7 fries, and 5 Coke Zero. I was closing our McDonald's when a guy built like a...
That's crazy.
A kid from school dumped maple syrup over my Canadian jersey. "That's what you get, maple syrup boy." The entire street turned to laugh, and I buried my head in my hands because I couldn't take being bullied for being Canadian anymore. I grabbed the 4th of July festival poster from the lamppost. "Person with the most American spirit wins." I knew I had to win. That night, I ordered the 20-piece chicken nugget meal with a large milkshake to prepare to be as American as possible. I'd start every morning with a big gulp from 7-Eleven, and every evening I'd force myself to turn off the hockey game and watch football instead. But when I woke woke up on competition day, part of me knew it still wasn't enough to win. I threw on my flag shirt, grabbed a Dunkin' for the road, and drove off with no plan. But halfway there, something huge on a fence post made me slam the brakes. It was a bald eagle, staring at me like I owed it money. "You're not from here, maple syrup boy," I gasped, because I didn't know America had talking eagles. "What the?" The bald eagle stretched a wing toward its back. "Yes, this isn't Canada anymore. Unlike your ugly mooses, us eagles can actually speak. Hop on." I climbed on, and we shot into the sky. When we came down over the festival, and the
I'm speechless.
eagle dropped me on stage. The mayor didn't even take a vote. "You win! Of course you win!" The whole town screamed so loud I felt it in my chest, and my neighbor was chanting my name instead of maple syrup boy. So I threw my arms up and screamed the most American thing I could think of. USA! A kid from school dumped maple.
Damn. That's
My
crazy.
dad walked into my room while I was mid-build in Minecraft and unplugged my computer. He showed me a text from my shop teacher saying I was failing. "You can't even pass the one class where you build things with your hands. No more computer until your grade comes up." When my history teacher assigned a project to build a 3D model of a famous landmark, my dad lit up. "Good. It's about time you put your hands on something real. You better come home with an A." He dropped me off at my partner's house that first night and watched me walk in, carrying a bag of cardboard and glue sticks. His mom met us at the door and said, "Table's cleared off. Get to work." My dad saw us sit down through the window and drove away smiling. We tried. My friend glued his fingers together twice, and our Coliseum looked like a shoebox someone stepped on. His mom went upstairs, and my friend looked at me and said, "Just build it in Minecraft." Within an hour, we had columns, arches, and an arena floor with tiered seating. We threw the cardboard in the trash that night. Every night after that, we went straight to the laptop. My dad would ask how it was going, and I'd tell him we were making real progress. He'd squeeze my shoulder and say, "That's my boy." One night, my friend's mom came outside and told him, "Your son won't stop until it's perfect. He's been pushing my boy the whole time." She wasn't wrong. She just didn't know what we were building. A few days before the deadline, my dad found the extra supplies he'd bought sitting untouched in my room.
Okay.
Thought I'd forgotten them. He drove to my friend's house and walked in carrying the bag with a smile on his face. We were on the couch with the laptop between us. No cardboard, no glue, no model, just Minecraft. His smile dropped. He looked at the screen, then at the bag in his hands. "I've been telling everyone how hard you've been working." He set the bag down. I don't know why I expected anything different. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the week. When presentation day rolled around, I walked into class with the laptop in my hands. My teacher stood at the front and announced, "All of your parents were invited to watch your presentations." I looked at the back row and saw my dad sitting with his arms crossed. I let out a deep breath. My friend and I walked to the front and I turned the screen around. We built an exact replica of the Coliseum block by block. Every arch, every column, every seat in the arena. The room went quiet. My teacher looked at the screen for a long time and said, "This is the most creative project I've seen in years." She gave us an A. That night, my dad walked into my room and plugged the computer back in. He stood in the doorway for a second. "I'm sorry I doubted you." Walked into Grandma's house in a full suit after spending the last 8 hours sitting in a parked car. I kicked off my shoes and she immediately wandered over with a plate of cookies. "How's my hardworking accountant? I'm so proud of my star boy." She pinched my cheek. "You know, still crunching those numbers." I lied and took a bite. "But I have to go back in an hour to work overtime." I checked my watch because I had a real job interview lined up in an hour. If I got it, I could finally stop pretending. Grandma pulled up a chair and watched me eat while I mentally rehearsed interview answers. I've bragged to the whole bingo club about my grandson, the accountant who works for Nike. I smiled and told her fake stories like I had for the last 12 months. But then my watch beeped. "Sorry, Grandma, work is calling." But when I looked for my shoes by the door, they were gone. Grandma smiled at me. "You've been working too hard lately. I hid your shoes so you'd have no choice but to stay here, eat up, and rest." She gave me a plate of homemade chocolate cake and pressed the fork into my hand. My hands shook as I put the plate down, but she was already taking off my suit and putting a hand-knitted sweater over my shoulders. "Just spend a few hours with your grandma, please." I looked at my watch. Even if I left right now, I'd have sweating through my suit. I spotted my shoes behind her and lunged, but she stepped in front of me. "What's all the rush? Surely they'd understand if their star employee missed one overtime shift." She held up the chocolate cake again. I looked at her soft, proud face and wanted to cry. The truth would break her heart. But when I looked at my watch, I realized I had no choice. "I don't work as an accountant, Grandma." She froze as I continued. "I lost my job. I've been sitting in a parked car and lying to everyone for a year. But I have an interview right now for a real job. I need to leave leave right now, please. She went quiet, and I expected her to cry, but she just gave me my suit jacket. I got fired 3 times before I was 40. I know how you feel. She hugged me at the door. Now go get that job. No matter what, you'll always be my star boy. I sprinted out, chewing the bite of chocolate cake I took for good luck. I walked into Grandma's. When I saw my mother with dementia had redecorated my childhood room, I knew something was very wrong. I drove up to
Guys, this is
check
the
on her
last
at her
shot.
old house, and my room had 2 twin beds in it. I was an only child. She beamed at her work. Do you like it? I put clean sheets on for Danny too. Do you know when he's coming by? My car keys shook in my hand, because there has never been anybody in my family named Danny. I had to find out who my mother thought was sleeping in that bed. Mom, I'm an only child. She shook her head as she set the table. Don't start. You know he hates when you do that. She put a 3rd fork down and lined it up square with the edge of the mat. Tell your brother to come inside before it gets dark. My mother could not tell me what year it was and had called me by her dead brother's name twice on that phone that morning, but there was nothing foggy about how she said that. When she turned back to the stove to finish dinner, I snuck into the den and pulled her photo albums down off the shelf. There was no second boy in any of the pictures. When I got to my 7th birthday party, I saw 2 paper hats on the table in front of me, but the chair next to me was empty. The hair stood up on my arms, and I flipped back through every album, counting at least 50 photos where I was sitting next to an empty chair. I walked back into the kitchen, clutching an album. Mom, what happened to him? She stopped with the napkins in her hands and looked up. Nothing happened. You stopped playing with him. Both of my legs went out as it dawned on me. She didn't make him up. I did. He was the brother I wanted, wasn't he? She nodded. You wanted a brother so bad, and I couldn't give you one, so you brought Danny home yourself. I looked behind her and pictured the imaginary brother I made up when I was 4, the one her brain decided was real. Instead of breaking her heart, I told her about the time Danny fell out of the tree in the backyard at my 7th birthday party, and she laughed like she'd seen it herself. When I saw my mother with
That is
dementia...
actually so sweet, but sadly we have to end things. If you guys enjoyed the vid, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Bye bye.